Hey guys, this is going as Kire here with another Raid Shadow Legends video. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about Angar. This is after he got his buffs. So before, he was one of, if not the worst Void Legendary you could pull in the game. Super, just total Vault Guardian. But now he's actually pretty good. So I wanted to show footage of him doing well in Dragon, Fire Knight, and then also mainly, he's really good in Arena, specifically as a counter to some of the popular meta champions like Rotos. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and let's get into it. Okay, all right. So first thing, let's talk about his skills, then ways to gear him, and then masteries. His skills here. So a pretty simple kit is A1, which is attacks an enemy 2 times, places an extra hit if the enemy has a provoke debuff. We got day 2, which is attacks all enemies, places a provoke debuff on them for 1 turn, places a 30% reflect damage buff on all allies for 2 turns, also places a counter attack buff on this champion for 2 turns. So the combination of this is A1 and A2. And then the main thing is going to be his passive. This is what makes him so good against like Rotos's, which is if an enemy with a provoke debuff attacks has a 40% chance of placing a provoke debuff on them for 1 turn, each hit taken will reduce the damage taken by 5% up to 30% in 1 round. So he becomes incredibly tanky. If you look at his base stats, they're all, you know, like pretty high defense for a super, like these 20k HP characters usually don't have a scaling defense to go with it. So, or a good defense to go with it, but his base is right there. Like not as good as like some of the defense characters. Like for example, if you saw like Valkyrie, she's like one of the highest in defense, and so significantly higher base defense on her. But to have a 1300 on a character that has 20k health, that's pretty good stats right there. His base speed definitely on the slower end. You know, there's characters like Venus here with a incredibly high base speed, so you lose it on that, especially on a character that you're trying to like put these provoke debuffs out in front, so that makes it a little tough. But that's one of the drawbacks to the character. The great thing about his kit is that it's a guaranteed. First thing, he's void, so you don't have to worry about weak hits, especially on a character that's going to be trying to control the enemy team, whether it be Faction Wars, Dragon, Fire Knight, like those waves in the beginning, and especially Arena. Having it guaranteed, it's just only an accuracy check, is really great for a character like this. Cool thing too is you don't need to put any books in it. It's not like an 80% chance that books up to 100. It's just legitimately 100% the second you get them, which is pretty nice. Even though the more I use them, the more, like, I never thought I would say this, but I actually kind of want to book them, because having this 3 turn, especially on like Fire Knight, for example, if I were to use them, I believe I have better characters for Fire Knight, so I'm not really using them. But if I was like early game and like he's like one of my first Void Legendaries, I would seriously consider booking this guy to really help with pushing through Fire Knight for the first time, really high in Faction Wars. I think this guy's gonna be one of the absolute best characters in the game for Faction Wars on the Orc. Okay, and so then he actually does like a deceptively large amount of damage, especially in Arena and just over time throughout a match, especially grinder matches, through the combination of his A2 and A1 constantly being able to hit 3 times. So it is a little, you could go offense trade, like I'm trying out War Master on him. I think it's actually pretty good. Oh, okay. And so then the last thing I want to say about his kit is just how often you can really lock down and shut down an enemy for like the entire match. So for DPS characters, it doesn't take him that long for him to just straight up kill him through the combination of them attacking him. He's going to be hitting the 30% reflect damage buff, plus he's going to hit them 3 times. And then unbooked, he has a 40% chance to just place that provoke again. So they're already going to be most of the time about half health, unless it's like a Mountain King or something like that, or people chose to do Rotos in like a tankier build. So you could just straight up, he could just solo those characters, and once that provoke is on them, it's such a nice debuff to have, because especially Arbiter, constantly reapplying that provoke debuff is super nice. And then a cool thing, since it's a debuff, you don't have to worry about like your speeds or anything like that, like where you get a buff and then you have to like time it right. It's just once it's placed, it's up to them to go. It's on their speed, so you're never incentivized to like lower your speeds. Like all you want is, you just want in crazy fast speed, and he goes again. It's not like the provoke's gonna fall off or anything like that. So I think that's just a really cool thing about his kit, especially for Faction Wars, when you're trying to control enemy characters. Like when it's like absolutely needed, you can't just, if you take any damage, it's going to be a big problem. Now let's talk about the gearing. I think the gearing for this character is going to be massively different based on what you're trying to do. I'm currently having him geared for Arena specifically. I went with an immunity set because I like to build a boost with Arbiter into Torments. And that's specifically what it's for. There is like a couple side benefits too, just like people that are trying to do defense down in the beginning of the match. It's really nice too. You just have immunity set. you know, bombs are not an issue if like their Shazar happens to go first. So it's like immunity set for arena specifically is really nice. Downside is it's tough to get like really high accuracy amounts while also going fast enough to make sure you're going. That's one of the drawbacks of this gear. But yeah, I think the pros, as long as you can get some good immunity gear, it's just awesome. It helps with a lot of matchups. But you can go like super tanky, maybe immunity set and like really high accuracy. Like this is not going to be useful in faction wars. It's not going to be useful in like Dragon and Fire Knight. You're probably going to want to go tankier because he's going to be like the main person taking all the damage. You can potentially a taunt set, especially if you're really trying to commit him to the faction wars or as just a big tank for dungeons. I can see taunting being really good. You know, Immortal's going to be good. So like just anything that makes him tanky is just going to be good for gear. I like immunity for arena specifically. And then masteries can vary wildly based on what you're trying to use them for. I'm currently having them with this. So like one thing I do want to talk about though is how sniper does not improve provoke debuffs. Reason being I still got it is because I needed something that would go for Eagle Eye, and you know it doesn't matter. Both of these masteries are totally useless for me, so it's just I just picked one. That's one thing. You could argue you can go down here for something 5% more chance, but there's no point in that either because he already has 100% chance. It's just going to come down to accuracy. So for arena specifically, I went with that. Also, he uses his A1 a ton. Thodical is really good on him. You could go War Master. You could go Giant Slayer because he's going to be constantly proccing 2 or 3 hits with his A1. You can go defense. You know, so there's so many options you can do when it comes to masters for him. For arena specifically, you need a ton of accuracy. Even at 350, that's actually pretty low if you're going to be trying to push platinum. So I just needed as much as I can get. As I get better gear, even with like stuff like this, you know, like I just need to get better gear and then I'll be able to maybe take that off and go something else. Or maybe I'll try on and do more damage down the line with like a War Master. From the matches you'll see, especially in arena, you'll see that he does pretty good damage regardless. And having that extra 50 accuracy, you know, that could be the difference between me applying and not applying a debuff. So I like to just keep that on there. I see him such as like an arena focused lens. You know, like in other, especially in, I would definitely go like a defensive build, like defensive plus offense, or maybe like a defense and support only if I was trying to use him for faction wars. Turn meter boost off of this right here when a debuff on this champion is removed or expires. That'd be really great. Having this too, having the Cycler of Revenge, just giving him as much turn meter as possible so he's constantly ideally what would happen is he just constantly reapplies the provoke, but that's not realistic even when he's booked. So having a whole bunch of masteries that help him gain turn meter is going to be really clutch to just get him to use the move again and keep that cycle going, so you never have to worry about your other squishier characters that are doing more damage getting hurt. Okay, so now that we've gone over we got the gear, we got all the masteries out of the way, let me show you him in a couple of the dungeons. The ones that I like him in are, so in Dragon, I can see him being pretty good if you pull him early. Like for me, you know, I have like a speed team, so it's like I don't really need him in this, but it's just kind of nice. I just want to showcase how useful he could be as a character that helps your team survive. It looks like we'll just kill him this round. So we got the provokes up, and so I think this might be a good highlight. Also, especially for 3-turn cooldowns in these dungeons are so much better than 4-turn. It seems to just level up. I really start to notice a 4-turn cooldown when I'm doing these dungeons, whereas the 3-turns seem to come up constantly. Like, let's see if he could clutch it out. I don't think it's up yet. Okay, there it is. Let's see if he saves the cold heart. And boom, there it is. Let's see. And so it fell off there. Oh, got unlucky with the apothecary, but you know, did as best he could. And so here, he's not going to do much to this boss. The only thing he really got going for it is the reflect damage. That might actually do a decent amount of damage to him, but it's not going to be... Pretty much he's just going to help like your poisoner, especially early, survive. So you can get to this point and then let him take over and finish out the boss. In my situation, you know, it doesn't really matter. I got multiple characters that can do the damage, but for a lot of people, especially when I was first doing Dragon and it was like 3-4 minute runs, just getting here with a poisoner, like a Aothar, for example, in my case scenario, was nice. And then he's already done his job. It doesn't matter anymore. And you get to actually win the match. So then now here's where I think he's a little better. I think he's a little bit better in Fire Knight. So let's go over that. So the cool things that he brings, to the table are, he has a multi-hit. He's going to 2-hit the Fire Knight, but the coolest thing is a team-wide reflect damage. So what's going to happen is when the guy puts his shield up and he goes for the slam, he's if we have the reflect damage buff, for every person that has reflect damage, that's going to count as 1 hit towards the shield. So he immediately is going to proc the shield 5 times. This is a really good substitute if you don't get lucky and pull a counterattack, like a team-wide counterattack. Having a reflect damage buff is a good substitute for something like that, which is kind of nice. And then he'll, with the combination of this, and then also the waves are actually do a ton of damage. Like there's the arrow in here that can one-shot a lot of squishy characters, so having that AoE provoke is really clutch too. So I think overall he's very solid for this dungeon. He not only is he good on the waves, but he's good on the boss, and he doesn't have like a single hit A1 that like holds him back in any way. I think he's just overall a really solid character for Fire Knight. So let's just show a run really quick. It's a little unfair because I have the Valkyrie in here as well. Also, the combination of reflect damage plus a counterattack is actually really nice, because then you get the 5 hit plus everyone counterattacking, so you just completely wipe the shield before they go. And so then he's making sure that these people don't kill the Cold Heart, kill the Arbiter, which is nice. Kind of speeds up the run. These are definitely not going to be speed runs by any means, but it's definitely going to take you, if you're trying to get your own Arbiter, he'll definitely help with your survivability. I wish I had a book so he would do it more, but you know, on Fortune cooldown, that's decent enough. That's the big one. He does by far the most damage, so we applied it on him, reapplied it on him. Didn't get it on Arrow, which is a bummer. Didn't get it on him either, but it looks like he's going to die first. Okay, we got him. And so let's see where Arrow goes. If he goes to the Cold Heart, we'll see exactly, how much damage we're actually saving. We got the counterattack up, so it's going to be hard to tell you just exactly how much damage he does. But not only that, but he steals the buff and hits hard, so it's like, he is scary. Yeah, let's see how much damage he does. So having this provoke is really clutch. And then here, now we'll get to see the reflect damage in action, which I think is also really good for this. Okay, here it is. So hopefully people don't outspeed it. Okay, so it looks like we got it on 4 people now, because Arbiter went too fast. Okay, we got it on 3 people because also she went too fast. So see how it immediately went down to 7? Which is nice. But then this is just going to be a long run, especially with Cold Heart dying there. It's just unfortunate timing on the Valk shield. And so then none, obviously, we're not going to do any damage there. So slowly, I'll probably fast forward this, but I just kind of wanted to give you guys an idea. So we got it back up now. We got it at a bad timing. It's probably going to fall off. But that's just how Fire Knight runs, especially on full auto. It's hard to sync everything up unless you really actually plan it out. I'm just throwing random characters in. But the point still stands. It's actually really good for this boss. I want to see if I can get another example of it. Okay, I think on the next swing, I think it'll time up correctly. I'm not sure. And he also has his own built-in counterattack, which is kind of nice. If most of the counterattack has been overlapping with Valkyrie, but he alone, so it's 5. So ideally, what would happen if you have it timed perfectly? It's going to be the 5 reflect damage plus his own counterattack, which would be a 2-hit. So that's already 7 right off the shield. So if you're struggling with this encounter and you have Angar, definitely consider slotting it in. As this wraps up, okay, now we're going to transition to Arena. I got a few matches in Arena. I want to show how good he does against like Rotos, for example. For the first match, we're going against Arbiter, Martyr, Rotos, and Torment. So this I figured this would be a good highlight of not only Angar, but also the immunity gear. We have Arbiter, like my own Arbiter, in all my fastest speed gear, no immunity set. And then I have immunity sets on everyone else on the Madame Ceres, Gala Longbraze, and Angar. And then the plan is we're just trying to make sure at the minimum that we get the Angar to go faster than the Rotos. And then preferably faster than the Martyr as well to prevent the counterattack. So we happen to be faster, boost into it. Doesn't matter if we get frozen. Actually, I'm just going to pause really quick. It's actually really cool. Like a cool mechanic that you can do with like your damage dealer is, since we're in immunity set, there's a mastery in the defense tree that you have a 20% chance of when an ally gets frozen to counterattack. So it's just a blatant free move against Torments that when you have immunity set on like your Gal Longbraids, for example, 20% of the time I'm just getting essentially a free charge to use her A1 for free. And what's cool is that she gets synergy with shields. So her A1 applies the shield. So not only do you get that free damage on Torment, you also get the shield. So you can, if you absolutely need to, usually you don't, but if you need to, you can just A2 straight up from when she gets to go, and then you'll get to be able to remove the 50% of the defense based on her kit. But you can apply that to whatever characters you're using. It's a very niche example, but a really cool thing you can do that where normally if you didn't have immunity set, it's all RNG. Like maybe Gala gets frozen, maybe someone else gets frozen, maybe your whole team gets frozen. Whereas with immunity, you can like target it and almost use freeze to your advantage a little bit. So ideally, she just wouldn't get frozen, but you know, take what you can get at least. Okay, we got the standard A3 on Masteries, and then here's where we got the A2 down. So it took 2 direct hits from Agnar, got the counterattack and that. So through the reflect damage plus through the counterattack, he's almost dead. So I'm just like leaving him, and it also reapplied the provoke, which is a really good, really realistic option to rely on. If you know 40% scaled up to 50% if I had him booked, like that's really good odds. And so and then that's it. It just Agnar just shut him down completely. Didn't have to worry about him. Period. Really cool. It took 2 hits from him. He's already almost dead. So then now I'm just like leaving him up because I wanted him to kill himself off that just to highlight for the video. Even though normally I always shut down Rotoses. I never let them like if I don't care what the odds are, I will always shut down a Rotos because they could pop off and go 5 times, and then you thought you had the game won, and then you know he just kills your whole team. So, but I just thought it'd be funny for the video. Okay, so next, I thought this was a really good match. I thought that really highlighted Agnar. So I went into this match with the Hegemon matchup with Longbeard, Roshguard, and Duchess. So pretty scary team, especially based on how Hegemon is geared, because a lot of times it seems like they're just loading him up with attack. That seems to be pretty clear. They don't care about accuracy or whatever. They just want to have a ton of attack. So if I have to delay, not only do I have to delay a lot of the time for the 50% chance of a lockdown, because I have 3 characters in immunity gear. So I know that I can reliably, Masteries, Agnar, and Gala Longbraids are reliable that they're not going to get their skills blocked out. But for a character as squishy as Gala Longbraids, I don't know if she's going to survive. And going into that matchup, I knew that there's good chances of her either being at a sliver of health or her just to die straight up. The thing, what we're using Agnar for is to survive for a bit, lock them down enough to let Arbiter go if she gets locked out on the 50% chance that her cooldowns get unlocked. So I believe this matchup goes as worse as it possibly could, where not only does Arbiter get locked out, but Gala dies instantly. So but through Agnar, I was able to survive long enough. So yeah, we got the block cooldowns, and we also got Gala to die. So now we got to survive, and they have a decent amount of damage with, you know, the long braids or not long braids, long beard and Hegemon. But it's a little scary. We got them all provoked. We're able to shut them down long enough to where we got a couple turns here. We're just trying to survive at this point. We're able to kill him. We also need to worry about the Duchess of picking him back up. So we have to not only shut him down, but then kill him in a relatively quick period of time. We're able to survive long enough, and now we just gotta kill the Duchess and it's over. And then, you know, Gala comes in and cleans it up and the match is over. But I feel like that really showed that if I didn't have the control of an Agnar to be able to shut down their moves, stop them from snowballing, then it could have been a problem and could have potentially lost the match. All right, guys. Well, that should do it for this video. If you have any more questions about Agnar that I didn't answer, let me know down in the comments below. Also, I'm going to put some more videos up before I go. We got one probably right here, and then I got one right there. And if you made it this far, you probably liked the video. Be sure to hit that like button, and I'm out. Peace.